All right, today we're going to dive into the incredible life of Joe Medicine Crow. This is a story that, honestly, feels like a bridge built across centuries.
And really, his whole life boils down to this one almost unbelievable question. How on earth did a Crow warrior fulfill these ancient, sacred rites on the battlefields of World War II against the Nazis in modern Europe?
So let's start with a title that really defines his unique place in history.
And just let that sink in for a second. He wasn't just a war chief. He was the last one, the very last person to earn this revered title through actual acts of bravery, creating this direct line from ancient plains warriors all the way to the 20th century. It's wild.
You know, this quote really says it all. I mean, when a filmmaker like Ken Burns, a guy who has basically documented all of American history, is captivated by one person's story for 20 years, you just know it's a story that has to be told.
Okay, so to really get how he became a war chief, you first have to understand the two pretty powerful worlds he was living in right from birth.
I mean, look at this. It just captures this staggering scope of his life, right? On one side, you've got his step-grandfather, who was an actual eyewitness to the Battle of the Little Bighorn back in 1876. And on the other, there's Medicine Crow himself getting a medal from President Obama in 2009. His life literally connects the Custer era to the digital age. It's just a mind-boggling thought.
So the question is, how did he manage to bridge these two worlds? Well, on one hand, he was completely steeped in tradition. I'm talking he grew up hearing the story of Little Bighorn from someone who was actually there. His own grandfather was a distinguished war chief. But then, on the other hand, he was this total trailblazer in education. He became the very first person from the Crow tribe to get a master's degree, and he did it way back in 1939.
And all of this background, it's all building up to the central event of his young life, which is when his two worlds collided, head-on the battlefields of Europe.
This one detail, for me, just says everything. As a U.S. Army scout, yeah, he was a modern soldier, through and through. But hidden under that uniform, he was a Crow warrior. He wore red war paint, and he had a sacred eagle feather tucked under his helmet. He wasn't choosing one world over the other. He was bringing them both with him into battle.
Okay, so this is the crucial part. Becoming a war chief wasn't just some honorary title. It had to be earned, and you earned it by completing 4 very specific, very dangerous tasks. 1. You had to touch a living enemy without killing him. That's known as counting coup. 2. Take that enemy's weapon. 3. Lead a successful war party. And 4. Steal an enemy's horse. Now think about it. These are ancient rites. How in the world are you supposed to do that in a war with tanks and machine guns? But he did it. And the story is just like something out of a movie, seriously. He's in a town in France, he turns a corner, and bam, runs right into a German soldier. Instead of firing, he knocks the guy's rifle out of his hands, touches him to count coup, and just lets him go. In one single, absolutely stunning moment, he checked off the first 2 tasks.
And he wasn't even done yet. Later on, he's leading a small team to go steal some explosives. They stumble on a German camp, and what do they see? A whole herd of horses, like 50 of them, all belonging to elite SS officers. So he leads his war party in, cuts the horses loose, and just like that, he fulfills the final 2 requirements. A warrior from the plains of Montana, stealing horses from the SS in Germany. You can't make this stuff up.
And get this, here's the detail that is just unforgettable. As he's riding away with these stolen horses, he wasn't quiet. He was singing a traditional Crow honor song. You see, he wasn't just completing a military mission, he was fulfilling a sacred duty.
So after pulling off what seems completely impossible and becoming a war chief, he comes back home. And he's not just a war hero, he's now a guardian of the very culture he so powerfully represented.
And it just made perfect sense, right? In 1948, only a few years after the war, they made him the official Crow tribal historian. I mean, the man who lived this incredible history was now in charge of making sure it was preserved for everyone who came after him.
But his work didn't stop with his own tribe. He was a founding member of the Custer Battlefield Museum. Think about that. The step-grandson of one of Custer's own scouts became this absolutely essential voice in telling the full, much more complex story of that battle.
And his service, it was really lifelong. He's the one who wrote the script for the Little Bighorn battle reenactment that people still see today. He wrote several really important books on Crow history. He was a founder of Little Bighorn College. He even took his people's story to the world stage when he addressed the United Nations back in 1999.
You know, a wife this extraordinary, this full of courage and dedication, it naturally leaves behind a pretty profound legacy of honor.
And this right here, this is pretty much the pinnacle of that recognition. In 2009, President Obama awards him the Presidential Medal of Freedom. And during the ceremony, the president called him Bachicha, which means a good man in the Crow language. It was a perfect way to honor him in the traditions of both his country and his own tribe.
Of course, his military service was also formally recognized with some of the highest honors you can get, from both the US and from France.
So, among his many decorations were the American Bronze Star and the French Legion of Honor. And what these really represent is the official recognition from two different nations of the incredible courage he showed while he was fulfilling the duties of both a U.S. soldier and a Crow warrior at the exact same time. And his legacy, it's still going strong. Today, a middle school in Billings, Montana, a VA clinic, and even a center at his old university, USC, all have his name on them. It's a way to make sure that his story, this story of bridging worlds, continues to inspire people.
So the life of Joe Medicine Crow really leaves us with a powerful question, doesn't it? He was a living link to a world that feels so impossibly distant. And yet, he didn't just survive in our world, he thrived. It really makes you wonder, who are the story keepers and the bridge builders in our own time? Who's connecting us to the histories that we just can't afford to forget?